Happy Camper Radio, episode 46. Come on, let's go camping. Welcome back, everybody. We're glad to have you aboard. This is the Happy Camper Radio Show, the only place you need to be when you're ready to talk camping. Camping is what we're about. Camping is all we talk about. I'm smiling today because the sun is out, something we are so happy to see. As you remember when I talked with you all in episode 45, a lot of people, thousands of people here in the Southeast got stranded on the interstate because of a nasty storm that they were not prepared for, and that includes yours truly. I was stuck out there for hours myself. Just when we thought Mother Nature was done and over with it, they threw another dose at us. This past week was a nasty one too, but we're going to talk about that on today's show because I tend to believe myself personally. Now, maybe you think differently, I don't know. But I tend to believe that people who go camping are better prepared to handle a winter storm and a winter storm crisis than, say, people who don't go camping, which is more reason why everybody should engage in this wonderful outdoor recreational activity. But we'll be talking about that here on today's show. Our phone number here is 404-537-CAMP. You can give us a call anytime with your camping question, day or night. Feel free to leave us a voicemail with your question, your comments, whatever. We'll get you on an upcoming episode. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Camp Talker, and add us to your circles on Google+. Of course, you can access any one of our social media sites very simply by going to one convenient location, and that's our homepage, which is www.happycamperradio.com. Take some time to browse the website, and while you're there, make sure you click on the RSS feed. This way you can subscribe to the program and never miss a single episode of our show. Enough said about that. I am ready to light this campfire. Let's everybody gather around, bring a favorite beverage of yours. I don't care what it is, a soda, a soft drink, a cup of hot chocolate, a cup of apple cider. Bring along a friend or a relative. We always have room for one more at this campsite. It is the place to be. It is the Happy Camper Radio Show. Let's take a moment now to welcome some new listeners to the program. To Clint Felton, who is following us on Twitter. Also to the folks at Camping Begar in Begar, Spain. And also to Doug Palmer in Minnesota. Thank you all so very much for tuning into the program. We're so glad to have you on board. Hey, speaking of Google+, I have something here I want to talk to you about briefly. Now, we have a lot of our listeners who originally tuned into the show because they learned about it as a result of our postings in the communities on Google+. There are a lot of great camping communities out there. And we took the time to post a weekly show note as well as a link to the program on Google+. However, in recent weeks, I come to find out from some of the individuals who run these communities, who manage these communities, I was getting some emails indicating that for some reason our show notes and our postings are coming across as spam. And as a result, they in turn have to go ahead and approve that particular posting and allow it to be posted in the community. I don't know why that is. I have taken the time to do a little bit of research, and minus talking with somebody from Google on this issue, I come to find out through their help menu that I'm not the only one that's experiencing this problem. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because we are posting so many of the same materials at the same time and doing it multiple times in multiple communities, or it's because of the links. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but for some reason it's happening, and the only way I can really address this any further without upsetting anybody, and that's something we don't want to do, is we're going to back off a little bit on some of our postings on Google+, just until we can rectify this problem and figure out exactly what's going on, because that's a great way for us to communicate to the folks who are into camping that want to learn about the Happy Camper Radio Show and would love to have each and every one of them on board too. So we'll back off that just a little bit, but you'll still see us posting from time to time in some of these communities on Google+. In the meantime, if you would like to go ahead and spread the word about the show, if you've got good things to say about the show you'd like to share with some of your fellow campers, some of your fellow folks out there on Google+, please tell them where they can find us. Our homepage is www.happycamperradio.com, and right there they can click on any number of links. They can listen to any one of the shows, and if they have a smartphone especially, they can pick us up in the iTunes Store, on Stitcher, on the BlackBerry Podcast directory, as well as Miro Guide. We can look up any one of those right in those directories, and they can find the Happy Camper Radio Show. It's not very difficult to find at all. Hey, this coming week, for those of you residing in the metro Atlanta area, or if you just happen to be passing through the area, or better yet, you may even be camping in this area. Well, the Georgia RV and Camper Show is coming to town next weekend, February 21st through the 24th, 2014, and that's going to be held at the North Atlanta Trade Center. That's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's a great opportunity to get the family together and come out and take a look at some of the great new RVs that are on display. Hours are Friday from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m., Saturday 10 to 7, and Sunday from 10 to 5. And it doesn't cost a lot of money. Adult admission 16 and over, $6. Kids 15 and under are free. And if you want to bring the family along, hey, Friday is family day. Bring your entire family. You can get in for one admission of $10. Whether or not you're in the market for a new RV or looking to trade one out, there's a lot of dealers there, and they'll be able to talk to you and be able to show you some of the new recreational vehicles that are on display. If you're anybody like myself, and being a tent camper like I am, it's going to be a little difficult for me to go into that transition mode again, because there was a time in my life that I went in from the camping part of my life into the RV part of my life, and I had a pop-up camper, not a pop-up camper, but a truck camper that I drove for quite a long time, and for some crazy reason, the primitive instinct came back into me. But I will still go out to these shows here, because you meet a lot of great folks. You meet a lot of campers, and it's a great place. Even if you just want to walk around and dream, this is the place to do it. It's the Georgia RV and Camper Show coming up next weekend, February 21st through the 23rd at the North Atlanta Trade Center, and you can look it up online right now at www.northatlantatradecenter.com/rv.html. Check it out, and maybe we'll see you at the program. All right, this coming week, here's what we're going to talk about. Since the weather is wreaking havoc on our lives here in the South, and I'm sure a lot of the folks up in the Northeast are laughing at us because of what we went through here in the South. And I know, believe me, because I have lived in the Northeast before, and I know what the winter weather is like up there each and every year. Here in the South, a simple blanket of snow, 2 inches of snow on the ground, will shut down this city and lock it down tighter than a drum. But in this particular instance, like I said, a couple weeks ago, we had a bad situation where a lot of folks were crammed up on the interstate. And if you haven't already listened to episode 45, now would be a good time to go back and do it. I spent an hour behind the microphone last week just talking about my experiences getting caught up in the traffic jams. And even though I'm a great driver, I think I am, I haven't had too many accidents in my life. I had a couple there, but I'm not going to bet I'm the absolute perfect driver. But when you're on the interstate and you get caught up in that gridlock, I don't care how good of a driver you are, you're not going anywhere. And that's exactly what I was faced with here no more than 3 weeks ago. In this particular instance, the storm moved in on the 28th of January. Local and state officials were totally unprepared. They were very nonchalant about the weather forecast. They took a, well, let's wait and see approach and hope for the best. And to this day, many of those state and local officials are in the spotlight. They are still walking around with egg on their face because of it. The interstates, like I say, were jammed with motorists. We thought we were over and done with as far as the weather was concerned once that cleared up. And that's one of the strange things about here in the South, folks. The weather is so unpredictable. And I've lived down here, like I say, about 28 years now. I have seen some bad winter storms. But for the most part, they clear up in a day or two. The sun comes out, the snow melts, the ice melts, the traffic clears up, the roads turn dry, and everything returns to normal. Well, last week, from the time I did this program, episode 45, up until today, we had another blast of winter come through Atlanta. And it caused the entire city to shut down. Now, in this particular instance, the National Weather Service forecasts were closely monitored, not just by the local and state officials who are responsible for alerting to the public the weather conditions that are about to come upon us, but a lot of their citizens took the time to basically pay attention themselves and make some conscientious decisions and pay attention. And if they were told, hey, it's a good idea to stay home tomorrow, don't be out on the roads, a lot of people definitely did that. They stayed at home, they locked up tighter than a drum, and they weren't out on the roads. Unfortunately for me, I had to go into town, but I stayed in town. And like a fish out of water, like I posted yesterday on Facebook, I was staying in some downtown swanky hotel, and it really didn't jive with me. I would much have preferred to be out at a public campground somewhere where I had the room to stretch, the room to breathe, and enjoy a campfire where I could sit quietly and listen to that fire crackle like we're listening to right now, and be able to open up your mind and think. It is so relaxing, folks. But that was not the case this past week. One thing about this storm, though, in comparison to the one that occurred a few weeks back, the local officials spoke openly and warned the citizens ahead of time. They weren't taking any chances. They weren't about to allow to happen what happened 3 weeks ago. Because, like I said, they are still trying to do some damage repair to the image, not only of themselves, but to the city. But in every instance, just like before, over the years, one thing that happens here in the South, when folks know they are going to be snowed in, even if it's for a half a day, they run to the grocery stores. They clear the shelves of bread, milk, eggs, flashlights, batteries. They're all gone. In fact, it was the day before the storm hit. Folks massively flocked to the grocery stores to clean out these items. And for the life of me, I don't understand why that happens. Because again, the storm only lasts a couple days. And for the most part, folks don't run to the grocery store every day to restock their shelves or restock their refrigerators. That will happen maybe once a week. Maybe twice a week. So, stay in the house, live with what you have, you'll be okay. But, I don't know why it is, but those three items, the bread, the milk, and the eggs, are the first to fly off the shelves. And it happened again this past week. Now, overall, your local officials did a much better job this time, and my hat's off to those folks. They were much better prepared. The state was prepared. Folks who had to go to work to deal with the winter weather conditions that were about to hammer the city were able to get into work and do their jobs. I'm talking law enforcement officials and firefighters, and my hat's off again to those folks. You had your technicians with the power company, your linemen, the folks that had to go out and restring the telephone poles, or the power poles, should I say. In some cases, the power poles were completely brought down and new poles had to be put up. So there were a lot of folks who were in very important positions that had to go to work and had to weather the storm, while most of us had the opportunity to stay at home and maybe lost a day or two of work. But it did wreak havoc here in the South, and again, that's only a couple inches of snow. up in the Northeast, right after the storm cleared this area, the Northeast got hammered big time. And to my understanding, they are still shoveling out their driveways, their sidewalks, and trying to get life returned to normal. So my question is here, are campers better prepared to deal with winter weather storms at home in comparison to folks who say do not camp? Now, most people who camp often carry an abundance of supplies with them. If they're anybody like myself who have camped over the years, who camp frequently, I cannot go into a camping supply store and walk out empty-handed. It just doesn't happen. Even when I go to a big box store and walk down the camping supply aisle, I am going to find something I do not have and end up bringing it home and putting it into my camping supply box. So I have an abundance of supplies. Your camping gear is typically stored at home. It may be stored in your garage or your basement, or maybe in the little shed that's out off to the side of your house. But it's going to be somewhere that's going to be within arm's reach. I truly believe when a weather emergency strikes and campers are forced to react, they are going to resort to their instincts, and the camping instincts in them will come out. Where on the other side of the coin, where you have your non-campers and your folks who are not quite used to being in these unusual situations, they will tend to panic. Now, one of the things that do happen quite frequently, and it happened here in the South just this past week, during this winter weather storm. And yes, we had frozen streets. We had a blanket of snow on the ground. We did have power poles that were down. We had lines that were down. In a lot of these situations, the electricity is going to go out. How long it's going to be out for is anybody's guess. If you're looking to go online and try to find out what the phone number is for the power company so you can report that outage, you're going to be out of luck because the power has already knocked out the electricity to your home and you can't get on the computer. So you need to have that number handy. And because of technology being like it is today, especially in a big city, you're not going to talk to a live person. You're going to be connected to some automated system where you're going to be able to report your outage. But still, you're not going to have any idea as to how long it's going to take. You won't even know what the particular cause of your outage is. It could be fallen trees on power lines. It could be power poles that were brought down. And believe me, folks, some of these trees are so big that when they come down, it's like a domino effect. It will bring down not only the power lines, but it'll bring down the power poles, maybe a string of them, 4 or 5 right along the way. And there, my friends, is going to be a lot of effort and time being placed to restring those poles, to reset those poles, or maybe put new ones in. And it could be several hours or several days before your power is restored. Let's take a look at some of the devastating effects that could have on your home life. You're going to be lacking home heating. So you're going to have to find another way to keep warm. You're going to have spoiled food in your refrigerator. If the power is out for any more than, say, 4 hours, they recommend that anything that you had that it was perishable in that refrigerator, you need to throw it out. So you're going to have problems with refrigerated food. How about food preparation? What if all the appliances in your home run off electricity? Your electric ovens, your stoves, your microwave ovens, say you have a slow cooker, a warming plate, you're not going to be able to cook because you have no electricity. How about your weather radios or even your AM/FM radios? If you don't have any battery-operated radios, you're of course not going to have any television at home because you don't have electricity. But you want to know what's going on in the outside world. So you want to make sure that you have some weather radios or, at the very minimum, some battery-operated AM/FM radios. And just as important, and I've talked about this in last week's episode, and I'll mention it again today because it's so important, what about your cell phones? How are you going to charge them? Folks who had cell phones that could not be charged at home were eventually going to have their cell phones die on them, and they wouldn't even be able to call out for help if they had to. Today, landlines are virtually non-existent. I know so many people that have canceled their landline prescription or subscription with the phone company because they have a cell phone, and the cell phone is just what they need. They don't need a landline. It's an extra expense. But some people still have them. This is why, folks, it is so important that you have a cell phone charger in your vehicle. Because if your vehicle is parked outside your home in a weather-related emergency and your power is out and you have no way of charging your phone, you very simply take it out to your car, put it on the charger for a couple hours, and now you have a cell phone that is fully charged. I tend to believe people who are unprepared will panic in a crisis situation. I really hate to think that in some cases, society today has become so reliant and so dependent upon government or somebody else to handle their basic needs that in a crisis situation, they would not be able to handle their matters at hand. They would not be able to deal with a crisis, be able to take care of their family because they have spent so much time relying upon others to take care of them. There were a lot of people in this particular storm here in the South just this past week that were unprepared. All they knew is they wanted their power back on. And I really hate to say this, folks, but if you are one of those individuals, when you are faced with a situation like this, you are going to be on your own unless, of course, there is a medical-related emergency that's going to require EMS to show up at your residence. But if you just want your power turned back on because you need your soap operas or because it's a little too cold inside your home and you're not prepared, there is no way the power company is going to come out and turn the power back on at your home in front of everybody else just because you want it done. It's not going to happen. It doesn't work that way. To give you an example here of somebody who was unprepared for a weather-related situation, and this happened no more than 2 weeks ago here in the metro area. I did have an opportunity to talk to somebody from the fire department who told me about this. There was a house fire in the metro area one night, and I don't know how many people were in the home, but thankfully, thank God, everybody was able to get out okay. But when firefighters showed up, they managed to put the blaze out. The structure remained intact, but everything on the interior was completely destroyed. It didn't take them long to find out exactly what caused this fire. One of the residents inside the home built a makeshift fire for the purpose of keeping warm. And I'm not talking a fire in the fireplace. They actually built a fire inside their home. You can't do that, folks. I don't know what the cause of it was, why the homeowner did this. I don't know if it was because they had their power turned off or there was some sort of a situation, maybe their furnace was broken. I don't know. But in order for them to stay warm, instead of bringing out the extra blankets and bundling up and double layering their clothes, somebody decided, well, the only way we can really stay warm is to build a fire inside the house. And the house burnt down. This is what can happen, folks, when people panic in a crisis. I tend to believe, I really truly believe that people who camp are better prepared for weather-related emergencies than people who do not camp. And you're free to weigh in on this if you'd like to, by sending me an email, skip, SKIP, at happycamperradio.com, or, you can give the station, or the show a call at 404-537-CAMP and leave us a voicemail message. And we'll get you on one of the upcoming episodes. But I'm really curious to see how you feel about that. Most of the folks who do listen to this program are campers, and they have camped for a number of years. And that's one thing about campers that, we all have something in common. But I truly believe, too, that in a situation, our camping instincts will come out, and we will do what we have to react accordingly. I can remember back in the day, growing up, I used to love listening to my grandfather's war stories. Keep in mind, I'm in my upper 50s now, so I'm going to go back a good ways. And my grandfather, when he was telling me some of his stories, he was reflecting back a good ways. But back in the days, I can remember him telling me about situations where he was living in a house with all of his brothers and sisters and his mom and dad, and there was no such thing as electricity back then. They had candles to keep the house lit at nighttime. They had a fireplace where they had wood inside that fireplace to keep warm. At nighttime, if it came time to use the restroom, they got dressed, they bundled up, they walked out the kitchen door, onto the back patio, down the sidewalk to the outhouse, and they carried a lantern with them. How far we have come, my friends. You think about the luxuries that we have today that some people just feel they cannot do without, even for a short period of time. But that's just how it was back then, and this is just how it is today. Sometimes these luxuries can be taken away from us in an emergency situation. I could be sitting here doing this show right now, and there could be a power outage, and my whole show is gone. And I would have to start all over again when the power came back up. There are luxuries that we have to live with, and some that we just, have to learn to get by with when we don't have them. Now, your camping gear can be used at home in the event of an emergency. Think about your camping stoves that you have, a propane, gas, or butane stove. I would be a little bit cautious about using them indoors, especially if you have a well-insulated house and you don't have, a lot of good ventilation. You may want to go ahead and prepare your meals out in the garage, on the workbench. I've done that before. I've had the power go out for at least a day, and hey, the camping equipment works great. Pull out your battery-operated lanterns if you have those. Think about your coolers, too. If you're a camper, you've got a cooler. Take all the ice that you have in your freezer, dump it into that cooler, and any of your perishable items that you're worried about spoiling, you can go ahead and put them in your cooler. In some cases, they will stay good for 2 to 3 days. If you need to warm up, hey, that's what your sleeping bags are for. Bring out the sleeping bags. And if you have a big enough room inside your house, hey, make it a camping party. Set up your tent. What's so wrong with that? I see nothing at all wrong with it. How about your tent heaters? All right, now there again, you're going to have to take some extra precaution. If your power is out, if you have no way of heating your home, as a last resort, you may want to resort to your tent heaters. They're not very big. They don't take up a whole lot of space that they can heat. But again, it's a decision that you're going to have to make. I am not going to encourage it. I would encourage you double layering your clothes, bring out an extra winter coat, bring out those sleeping bags, and weather the storm until the power comes back on. But as a last resort, if you have a tent heater, you can, if you want to, and you feel it is safe, to go ahead and bring that out. And maybe if you have a one-room area where everybody is congregating, you can go ahead and set up your tent heater there. Also, keep some kitty litter on hand for your driveway. Shovel, again, that cell phone charger is very important. Make sure you keep your emergency numbers handy, too, because, again, you may have a problem reaching out to the power company if you don't have their number at hand. We've been talking about another winter weather crisis that struck the Southeast here and how folks who camp tend to be better prepared than folks who don't camp. Agree? Disagree? Well, hey, let me know your thoughts on it. It's time now for our featured campground of the week here on the Happy Camper Radio Show. This week, I'm going to take you out to the Midwest, to the state of Kansas, to the outlet on Pomona Lake. This is a year-round campground that has I believe, 32 sites. It was staring me right in the face here a moment ago. But right now, this particular campsite is walk-in. Their peak season does begin in April, and at that time, you're going to have to go ahead and make your reservations online. But if you love wildlife, if you love the wilderness, Pomona Lake is a great place to visit. It is situated among the rolling hills, mixed grasslands, croplands, and forests of eastern Kansas. Wildlife and numerous species of birds can be seen throughout the area, including bald eagles, white-tailed deer, Canadian geese, wild turkey. If you're into fishing, crappie, channel fish, wildlife, like I say, is in the abundance in this area. Check out some of their activities and amenities, which are right there on their website. They have drinking water, interpretive trails, a playground for the kids, showers, vault toilets. It's a great place if you're looking for year-round camping and you're out in the Midwest this time of the year, the state of Kansas. It is the outlet on Pomona Lake, and it is our featured campground of the week here on the Happy Camper Radio Show. And as always, if you have a campground that you would like for us to feature on the program, by all means, drop me an email, Skip, S-K-I-P, at happycamperradio.com. If you have a link to the campground website, make sure you include that too. I know there are tons of great camping destinations out in the real world, some of them which you have seen, some of you are very excited about, would like to visit them. You never know when you might run into us there too. The Happy Camper Radio Show is a presentation of Skip Huber Productions, and don't forget you can catch us online anytime at www.happycamperradio.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Camp Talker, and add us to your circles on Google+. Hopefully the winter weather is behind us and good summertime and springtime camping is ahead. That's what I'm looking forward to. We'll talk to you next week on the show. Bye-bye, everybody.